I should probably start by saying that this is not meant to like make someone feel bad about themselves or to insult somebody. This is me coming from a place of wanting to help people not make the same mistakes that I did when I first started playing. In that vein, I'm not also saying that I'm an expert. I'm just saying that I have a decent amount of experience. I played the Japanese game up until the soft launch in Singapore. At that point, after a couple of days of like debating, I then decided to drop my Japanese account to start playing the English one. I'm not exactly sure when I'm planning on releasing this, but I'm planning on doing so around the time that the English one is at a full launch. So that means there's going to be a lot of new players who have no experience even in the Japanese beta. So that means there's going to be a lot of new players coming in. Now there's already plenty of beginner's guides, especially the one made by DifferentFight. This is more of stuff to stay away from or just to think about to save yourself like headache later on. The biggest mistake that I see that new players make is that they don't use their stamina efficiently. What I mean by that is once you reach grade 30, you'll have about 100 stamina. With that 100 stamina, you will use this in fights throughout the day to get crafting material. Inefficiently using the stamina means that you are not constantly checking in on the game because it does refresh at a pretty slow to medium slow rate. Now, throughout the day, see, I'm not exactly sure about the times for the English one, but throughout the day, it will give you 35 stamina to reward you for continuously playing the game throughout the day. Now, that 35 stamina is a free 2 auto fights against normal to very hard difficulty. So a big tip I have in vain of that is right before you go to bed, check on the game, just get all the auto fights out of the way, use up the stamina so that when you wake up, it'll be at 100 again. Now, what some players do is they'll get up in the middle of the night, they'll calculate when they need to wake up so it's at 100 stamina, and then auto fight and then go back to bed. I do not recommend that in the slightest. That is not healthy. This is just a game, right? It should not affect your sleep schedule. I'm just saying, like, throughout the day, just casually checking your phone, which you're already going to do, might as well use that to use efficiently instead of just checking Instagram, you know? Now, I'm going to start talking about kind of crafting mistakes that I see or, like, the abundance of bad ratios when it comes to gems. What I did poorly when I first started playing was I would auto fight every character's very hard difficulty to try to get all the triple rare gems because I thought that was what you wanted to do since that was the one that you got the least amount of because you can only fight them 5 times a day. This is a mistake. Doing that uses too wide of a use of your stamina. What I mean by that is what will happen is when you go to craft your cards, you're going to have this crazy amount of triple rares, kind of double rares, some rares, and all the commons, obviously. So I would craft a triple rare, still have enough to triple rares that I could make another, but I wouldn't have like any double rares, hardly any rares. So you need to narrow down your fighting to 1 to 2 clans. So once you get all the very hard and hard fights out of the way, then you fight the normal. Fighting the normal will give you all the double rares you need. You might think that you're going to pull them in packs, but you're not as often as you think you are unless you're constantly spending money. I do not recommend crafting rares, especially early on. What you'll notice is that even though it's only 100 rare gems to craft a card, if you go for a play set, that's going to eat up a lot of the free gems that you had gotten. You will later on start accumulating a lot when you start opening packs of your 5th copies and then maybe like disenchanting. But you're going to notice that like what I was talking about earlier with ratios, that rares, even though they are very easy to come by, you are not going to be auto fighting for them very often. So you don't want to waste the crafting materials that you got as like free access on cards that you were probably going to open in packs. If you're just going to be crafting 1 or 2, that's totally fine. Just do not be like going for a playset instantly. We will not have There we go. So staying on path with this whole early game crafting, playing online, you're going to notice that a lot of players are still going to be using the Cray Elemental units, which is totally fine because, like sometimes you just don't have your playsets yet. But what's really perplexing is that they won't have their playsets of, their 10K vanillas or their 8K vanillas. Crafting those is nothing. Crafting a common, you're going to have such an abundance of common materials, like the ones that are like a brick, that you can just like the second you want to play a deck online, just instantly craft all the commons that you're going to want to play just to get those Cray Elementals out of there. I am begging you, do not disenchant your foils until the very last second. What I mean by that is, let's say you're going for a triple rare Kagado card and you have a double rare foil Velocity Dragon. Do not disenchant it until you're 50 gems away, because otherwise what's going to happen is you're going to disenchant it too early just to like see the ratios get there faster, and then you're going to pull the card that you're hoping to get in a pack. I just don't want anyone to disenchant cards unless they absolutely have to, because like especially like the double rares, they look sick even if they're cards you're not going to use. Just wait until the last second. Like, don't throw them away just because you think that you need the crafting material that second. Now, just quickly talking about gameplay, because like different decks are going to have different styles, different players are going to have different mentalities about it. One thing I am noticing is that players, I think, have this like anime mentality that when they swing with their Vanguard last, they can almost like guarantee in their head that they're going to hit the trigger. And I do agree that you need to imagine a victory. Like, you have to go for the win rather than just surviving. I'm just saying, if you are like 10K away from hitting and you have to hope for the double trigger, that's not likely. That's super unlikely. So let's say that your Vanguard and your Rearguard can both hit your opponent's Vanguard, and they are about the same power gap. Swinging with your Vanguard last, unless you play crits, is a bad idea. Because let's say you swing with your Vanguard, you get the trigger. Cool, you can put that on the Rearguard, then he's going to have his numbers. You're going to know what he's going to be able to hit for. If you swing in with the Rearguard first, they get a defensive trigger, and then you're hoping to swing in with your Vanguard and hit when you could have sent him at the Rearguard, is a way better use of your attack pattern. You will want to save your Vanguard's attack for last if you're playing crits, because the 2 damage is going to stack higher. So that's obviously a different pattern. I'm just saying, if you're playing the typical 9 draw deck. Okay, speaking of that, crits are good. Crits are fun. Draws are always good. If you get a defensive draw or an offensive draw, you're still going to get the power boost, and you're still going to +1, giving you a better chance of getting your pieces, especially your PGs. A crit is just going to help you accelerate your game plan faster. It also might like mess up your attack pattern though. Like you're planning on having your Rearguard attack and have his on-hit ability, but now you can't because you got the crit and it's going for 2, especially in like OTT with like Silent Tom not being able to, it's just the whole thing. So unless crits are essential for you, or like you're playing a budget deck and you need the crits just to like make up the gap, draws are kind of the way to go. My last this is more of a tip, but I just feel like it needs to be said a lot. Join a community. What I mean by that is, like, if you played on the Japanese server, you know what I mean, where you need to be using resources like VG0, or use Discord or Reddit threads that you like, because you're going to want to keep up with the game meta. You're going to want to keep up with top players. You just want to be involved. Like, if you like this game and you just want to like casually play it on your phone, this is still for you, joining a community, because like you can just passively join the community, not ever post, don't interact with anybody, but just kind of see what people's like mentalities towards stuff is. It might like point you in a direction of a deck that you weren't thinking of, or like, I don't know. I enjoyed making this. I am trying a new layout because I have cool equipment and I might as well use it. And with this whole, pandemic going on, I have all this time. I wanted to work on this video earlier, but I was debating deleting my Japanese account to start working on these videos. But I think this is the right decision. I hope that this video can help anybody in some way. If you liked it or it did help you, if you could like subscribe or like just to help me out, I really appreciate it. I plan on continuing my like budget videos, especially because there's going to be a lot of new players joining. But I also want to start showing off like the more competitive decks that like my brain's kind of thinking of, like the potential decks. Yeah, I hope this helps you, and I hope you are enjoying your solitude playing virtual card games. Dun-dun-dun.